Trying to get things set up. So I'll be getting started in 1 second here. So maybe if it works. I hate computers. Let's see. Hey, there we go. All right. All right, everyone. Welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. Today, we're talking about the most powerful weight loss mantra ever created. Say this one daily. I believe this is my favorite, most powerful one ever. It's a controversial one. I will let you know because it was hijacked and used for bad things back in the day. But in my opinion, I don't care. I'm taking it back and I use it, and I've used it for 30 years and will continue to use it because I think it's the most important, powerful mantra there is. It focuses your mind on the most important piece of information that allows you to make good food choices that allow you to lose weight. And that mantra is that nothing tastes as good as thin and healthy feels. Nothing tastes as good as thin and healthy feels. I love this mantra. Now, let me address the controversy first. I know Kate Moss back in the 90s, heroin chic, as thin as you could be was the goal for these models. And they were plastered all over billboards. And it led a whole generation of women to want to be as thin as possible and triggered untold numbers of eating disorders because she said, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. So I want to make crystal clear, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying thin and healthy very intentionally. And if you don't see the difference there, then that's on you. I think of it very different. I don't think just being as thin as possible is the goal. I think being thin and healthy is the goal. It's my goal anyways. And so we go back to the mantra, nothing tastes as good as thin and healthy feels. I believe this 1000%. And I think if you believe this, you're going to start making different food choices. And I think the big challenge most dieters have is that they don't believe this. They believe that nothing feels as good as that taste of that food. And that is not true. It's never true. Not when you look at the full picture of it. And when you look at the consequences that immediately begin after you overeat the wrong foods, eat the wrong foods, you'll notice that it doesn't feel that good. That few moments of pleasure you got out of eating it does not make up for the short and long-term consequences that you have to suffer. So again, I take this mantra back and say that nothing tastes as good as thin and healthy feels because I remind myself of this literally every single day. And I use it to guide my food decisions and focus me on the fact that when I'm thin and healthy and happy with myself, nothing feels as good. Nothing tastes as good as that feeling is for me. And again, if you can wrap your head around this, this does so much of the heavy lifting for you to help you make better food choices, to help you master your weight. Because again, I can promise you, if you're struggling with your weight subconsciously, you think the taste of the food is the most enjoyable pleasure you can ever experience. And once you shift that around and realize it's not, it's just a temporary little blip, a little moment in time. And one other way to think about this is the distinction between pleasure and happiness, where the taste of the food is a pleasure that's momentary. And as soon as that experience is over, the pleasure is gone. And happiness, when we consistently make good food choices, when we consistently do the right thing, we generate a happiness that lasts long after the good decision. We live in that happiness. We grow that happiness bigger and bigger and bigger levels. Whereas pleasure is momentary. It's in the moment. And it's always a blip. It's always this form. Whereas increased happiness is this form. Forever. So nothing tastes as good as thin and healthy feels is a focus, a mantra to focus us on the happiness that is available to us when we consistently make better food choices that are based on this long-term happiness rather than this short-term pleasure. And again, I think that once you train this into your subconscious mind, it does so much of the heavy lifting to help you make better food choices as you move forward. And so if you want some support in helping you to kind of install this sort of thinking that does make it easier, click the link in my bio, go get the free hypnosis session I made for you, or go to programyourselfthin.com, go get the free hypnosis session, watch the video I made for you, and get on a different path and, start approaching your weight differently. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. The question part here was a little rough beginning there. Little technical issues in the beginning. What's up, Curveball? How's it going? Made the live. Yep, usually just live. Usually around noon. Got late to start today. Got extra late start today because there was technical issues, but here we are. So yeah, if anyone has any questions about weight loss, health, happiness, feel free to ask them, and we will get into them. Yeah, I'm in a technical, a challenging technical time of life, I guess is how we would put that. But yeah, so I hope everyone has a nice day here, halfway through the week, hump day as they call it. So I don't know. I hope it's nice where you are. I'm in the thaw out stage, and I am here for it. We're in the mid 40s. Oh, feels glorious. I was thinking it's so funny. Speaking of, life is a relative thing, and 45 degrees feels so much different on end of February day than it does in an October day. It's funny how much warmer it can feel. And that's where I'm at. And so it's warm enough for the snow to start melting. Thank God, because there's been feet of it, and it's starting to mess with my head. So it's nice to see it start melting and start to see it disappear. And I'm looking forward to seeing some grass. What's up, D? How's it going? D says, what are some tips for when you feel more hungry than normal? Oh, that's a great question. And that's going to happen. I think the first tip I would share when you feel more hungry than normal is to start to think about why. I think putting things together in your mind is very, very valuable. And this is a straight neuroscientific principle that once we label something, it actually helps us feel better about it. Now I'm talking about labeling emotions. But once we label an emotion, a lot of times we can feel better about it because it feels somewhat contained as opposed to feeling this generalized emotion that we're kind of stuck in. And so I find that a similar concept works for when all of a sudden we feel hungrier than normal. I like to reflect on why. Now, I can't always figure out why, but a lot of times I can. The biggest culprits I look for personally when I feel hungry, the first thing I look for is my sleep. If I did not sleep well last night or the night before, that's the first thing I'm assigning blame to, because I've noticed that my sleep is directly related to my hunger. And if I sleep poorly, I get hungrier. So I like to know that. The next thing I notice is how I've been eating. So if I've been eating more sugar, more flour, more processed food, more junk food stuff, things like that, I tend to be hungrier. I get hungrier. If I've been drinking alcohol, I tend to get hungrier. If I'm stressed or depressed, I tend to get hungrier. If I've been working out more, I tend to get hungrier. I'm not a woman, but I've heard women, depending on what time it is in your cycle of the month, if you're dealing with that, that can be something that might make you hungrier. So again, the point being that we want to start to notice, we can notice some patterns. Most of the time you can, and sometimes you can't. But when you do start to notice the patterns, I think it's so helpful, because otherwise we just start making up all sorts of stories about how we're the hungry little caterpillar who's always hungry, and we're never going to be able to lose weight because we're always hungry. And there's almost always some reason why you are hungry. And once you can put it to a reason, a lot of times you can deal with that. And even just knowing it's helpful. Okay. So that's the first step, is I want to identify it. Now, the next step, when I feel more hungry than normal, I say, oh my God, I didn't sleep well last night, I'm hungry. Okay. So what do? The very first thing I do is I rely on this, a water. So once I can say, oh, I slept kind of bad last night and I feel hungry, the next thing I can go to is I'm not really actually hungry. I just feel hungry because I'm a little tired and sleep well. So my body's looking for some quick energy, but I'm not really that hungry. And so if I just drink some water, if I go do something else, I'll be fine. And I'll have my lunch or whatever else. So water is the very first thing I rely upon after I've created some awareness of why it's happening, which again is very important in the process, because once it's comes to sleep and I didn't sleep well, once we have a reason like that, it's easier to go to the water. All right. So water's first thing I do. Second thing is, if I'm hungrier than normal, I rely on fruit. So if I'm hungrier than normal, I'll eat a banana, I'll eat an apple, I'll eat some sort of fruit usually. And so those are the big two strategies I use. Three, I guess, if you want to say. I diagnose it. And then once I've diagnosed it, I rely on water and fruit. Those are the main ones. From there, again, you can have some other options pre-planned. I never get past the fruit. The fruit always works for me. But there have been times back in the day before I was able to rely on fruit and stick with that consistently. I would use almonds and raisins, hummus and chips sometimes. Before that, I used to use, protein bars, which again, they're fine as a transition to healthier things. These protein bars are not as healthy as you think, so don't get reliant on them. I think they're going to make your weight loss harder ultimately. But again, these are suggestions I would recommend. So hopefully those help you out. But yeah, that's a good question. Because we get hungrier sometimes. But there's so many different things that can really like trigger extra hunger in you. So again, start to notice the patterns. What's up, Ken? Ken says you can start feeling that happiness on the first day of PYT. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, of course. And program yourself thin. That's one of the biggest difference between program yourself thin and diets is on a diet, your first day is miserable, stressful, overwhelming, and just continues to be that way. With program yourself thin, you start off relaxed and calm because you start off with a 5-minute hypnosis session. So you actually start your day relaxed and calm, energized, focused, motivated, happy. So yeah, big difference. And we're aiming at happiness right from the very first moment of the program. Imagine that. Imagine losing weight in a way that felt good to you. That's the goal. And also, hi, Dr. Jim. I am not a doctor and I do not play one on TV, but will I ever get a doctorate in anything? I don't know. You never know, but not a doctor. But yeah, it seems like that sometimes. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask them. Anything is welcome. Because I know you're all dealing with weight loss in different ways. Everyone's got their different strategies that they're relying on. One common pattern I notice with dieters is they tend to blame themselves for not losing weight. So if you feel like you're blaming yourself, that you're mad at yourself, you feel like a failure, you just can't get it together, feel free to ask some questions because all that's bullshit. The reason you're not losing weight is not because you don't have willpower. It's not because there's something wrong with you. I promise you. There's other reasons. And it's mainly that you just don't know what to do. And you think you do, but you don't. So, but yeah, been doing this for 20 years professionally. And basically so much of what I do is help people realize that what they thought was the problem is not. That's so much of the work that I do. So if you feel like you've been stuck with your weight, if you feel apathetic and you've tried everything and nothing works, what are you thinking? Are people getting ready to quit? I don't know. Sometimes people feel like they're just going to quit because what's the point? You've tried all the diets, but it's important to understand that all the diets are the same in the sense that, yeah, they all have different kind of front-facing philosophies, right? So keto seems a lot different than low fat on the surface, right? They seem completely different. But where they're exactly the same is that both of them, whether you want to be low fat or keto, right, seemingly complete opposite spectrums of the diet spectrum, they're exactly the same because either way, on day one, you're going to 100% try and change all of your eating with your willpower. And that's where every single diet is exactly the same, whether it's keto, low fat, intermittent fasting, counting calories, whatever it may be. They're always exactly the same because it's just you consciously trying to force yourself to act different. And so as soon as you approach your changing your weight that way, that's a short-term approach. You're not going to be able to stick with that very long. And that's why you experience what you experience. Again, I have telepathy. I can read your mind, and I know that what you've experienced is you've lost weight and then you keep putting it back on. And you're at the point now where it's like you can't even get yourself motivated to lose any weight because you associate, even when you lose weight, you're worried that you're going to put it back on. And so now it gets really difficult for you to start any plan. And you're probably completely apathetic about weight loss at this point. Right? Because you're probably, if you're watching this, you're probably one of those people, I don't want to do I'm not going to do the injections. I'm not getting surgery. But the diets aren't going to work either. And so you're kind of this weird spot of you don't know what to do. And so to some degree, you're kind of giving up. Not unusual. Again, makes sense. I mean, I always say, like, if I said go in the backyard, go out into a field and flap your arms and see, until you can fly. It's like, how hard are you going to try to do that? You don't believe it. You don't believe it's not going to work. You don't believe it. So you're never going to try that hard. And so it's the same thing with weight loss. At this point, it's learned helplessness. You ever heard of learned helplessness? It's an important concept to know psychologically. A description of it is that, you can take fleas and put them in a jar that they can easily jump out of. And if you put a cap on it, after a while, the fleas will learn to jump just below that cap. Then you can take the cap off and they will jump just below where the cap was. They won't jump out. And so even though they have the ability to jump out of it, they don't, because they've learned to just jump that high. And so for you with your weight loss, you have this very, very big problem of learned helplessness. And so that when you think about weight loss, you've kind of failed before you even started, because you reference all your failures weight loss wise, and you get to the point where it says, oh, what's the point? What's the point? I'm never going to lose it anyways. Nothing works. I got no willpower. I no self-control. I'm a sugar addict. And a lot of people walking around thinking that. And I get it, because that's what the diet industry wants you to think. The diet industry is basically a psychological operation to install learned helplessness into you. Because dieting is a bullshit strategy for long-term weight loss. And it's unbelievable. I mean, like, to the point where it's when you really understand psychology and you study dieting, it's just unbelievable what they've been able to install into people's brains, and to completely, like a virus. It's like a mind virus. It's like a diet mind virus, a prison cell over your brain, so that every time you think about weight loss, you think like a dieter, and it keeps you trapped in there. And the craziest part to me about that is that even though you have failed repeatedly with diets, even though everyone you know in your life has pretty much failed with diets, you still are 100% committed to dieting as the way you're going to lose weight. That's pretty much the most amazing part to it. And that's how complete the programming is. I used the example yesterday that to some degree, I'm like a cult deprogrammer. I need to study it more, because one of my goals here with the podcast is to deprogram you from the dieting cult. I keep writing little notes to myself on the smallest pieces of paper in the world. But so yeah, a lot of what I do is like cult deprogramming, and I'm trying to deprogram you guys from your cult of dieting. And so you're surrounded by diets that don't work. They haven't worked for you. They haven't worked for anyone you know, and yet you still believe in them. How's this possible? And you can just look at cults to find out the answer to this. And there was one cult, I can't remember the name of them, but what they did is they were an end of the world cult. And they kept having these dates when the end of the world was going to come. And they give up all the shit, get ready to go, and the end of the world didn't come. And the fascinating part is they had journalists with them during this, and they interviewed them. And did they, when that happened, did they say, oh man, what a bunch of bullshit. That's not what most of them did. Most of them just created another story, So again, my point being that the cognitive dissonance that we all experience with human brains prevents us from recognizing and accepting and acknowledging that something doesn't work when we're really, really committed so much time, energy, and effort to it. And so you dieters have been committed so much time, energy, and effort to dieting that even when there's evidence right in front of you that's not working, you still don't accept it. And it is my goal and mission here on the podcast anyways, this is a live and I make it a podcast. It's called Program Yourself Thin. That is my mission, to kind of snap you out of the diet trance, to deprogram you from the diet cult brainwashing that you've been exposed to. All of us have been exposed to, and, committed to us. Salty Cucumber says, how can I get rid of cheese cravings? I'm on GLP-1, female 31. How do I get rid of cheese cravings? Well, cheese is a tricky one. Cheese has this chemical in it. I forget the name of it, but it's an addictive chemical for certain humans. So how do you get rid of cheese cravings? There are absolutely ways to get rid of cheese cravings, but it's hard to give you a generalized way to do that. So, for example, if I was working with you one on one, I would ask you, first of all, why do you want to get rid of cheese cravings? I'd need to understand your mind a bit to craft a strategy and solution to actually get rid of cheese cravings. And would we absolutely get rid of cheese cravings? Maybe, but at the very least, we'd absolutely minimize them. But that would take understanding your situation a bit first. I can't just give you a blanket. Oh, imagine cheese with maggots on it, or you know what I mean. Like that stupid hypnosis shit from the past does not work. I would need to understand your situation, but that is interesting, even being on the GLP-1, that you're still in cheese cravings. And I guess that proves how strong cheese cravings can be. Cheese is uniquely addicting. And I forget the name of that chemical that it is. I gotta, let's look it up. Let me look it up. What's the name of chemical that makes cheese so addictive? Let's see if we get something here. I'll know it when I see it, but I'm just blanking on it. Yeah, casein. There it is. The hell. Yeah. So when you digest casein, it releases casomorphins, which are opioid-like compounds that interact with dopamine receptors in your brain, creating a mild but real addictive response. Yeah, casein. I knew that. But yeah. So it's real, but again, yeah, there's absolutely ways we can deal with it. We can listen, and again, I can say, okay, yeah, cheese has addictive qualities to it. Casein. Yeah. Thank you. Just Jade said it. Yeah. Thank you. Casein. And so, oh my God, now cheese is addictive. No wonder I can't stop. But remember, every single year, millions of people stop smoking cigarettes, stop drinking alcohol, stop doing hardcore drugs, which are way more addictive. So I want you to understand that even if something is on the addictive scale, it does not mean you can't stop doing it. All right. The power of your mind is the secret to overcoming any addiction. And there's way more intense addictions than casein. So just those little, bonus for you. But yeah, cheese is one of those things. Vicky says, PYT gives me the focus, stability, and groundedness to meet the challenges of these turbulent times. Oh, well, thank you, Vicky. Yeah, and that is another kind of side effect, I think, of Program Yourself Thin is that, again, it's not, I always say, like, Program Yourself Thin is really about taking your weight loss and rapiding and personal development. So, we use your weight loss as an opportunity to help you become the best version of you. And of course, that's going to help you when you're the best version of you. It's going to help you deal with stresses of life, whichever way they kind of come, What's up, Karen? How's it going? But yeah, I mean, because A, you need to be able to deal with the stresses of life to lose weight, first of all, but then B, you don't just want to lose weight, folks. You don't want to be a nervous wreck who just weighs what they want. You don't want to be this, low self-worth, low self-esteem person who just weighs what you want. You know what I mean? You want more than that. And it's important that you recognize that because the weight's not going to fix everything. I don't know why I do know why I have to say this because I know, most Americans are in a diet trance. Why wouldn't we be? We've been exposed to millions of diet ads our whole life. So it's understandable why it would happen. But again, it's, you got to step outside of the diet thinking if you ever really want to master your weight. And I mean, there's so many ways to do that. But one of the key ways is that your motivation, what's your goal? Most dieters just want to lose weight. That's probably why most dieters, 95% of dieters that lose weight, put it back on, 95%. So just wanting to lose weight is probably not enough motivation to keep it off. So, if you learn this, the better. It also says, do you recommend intermittent fasting? I think intermittent fasting, it's fine as a tactic, as it's one tactic out of many that you should have. There's no one tactic, folks, that's going to help you master your weight. There's no one thing. And every diet is built around the one thing philosophy because all the diets know that you're overwhelmed and frustrated and stressed out. And so they got to frame their diets as one simple thing. Every diet has this in common. Every diet. Mediterranean diet, which I love, but it's just eat Mediterranean food. Keto, just don't eat carbs. Intermittent fasting. Oh, just don't eat for 16 hours. Counting calories. Just count all your calories. Low fat. Just don't eat fat. You know what I mean? It's always one thing. And you're not one thing away from mastering your weight. Just like if you wanted to learn to be a carpenter, you don't learn with one tool. Okay, I got to figure out my hammer. Become a carpenter by mastering hammer. No, you got to learn how to use all the tools. And so it's the same with weight. You can't, there's not just one thing. And so and now, by the way, I use a form of intermittent fasting myself. So I'm not opposed to the tactic. I think it's wonderful. I think giving your body a break from eating consistently is one of the greatest gifts you could give yourself. Now, I think if you've struggled with food and you eat all day and then all of a sudden you jump into not eating for 16 hours, I think you're going to stress yourself out and you're not going to succeed with it. So, again, I'm giving you kind of a nuanced answer. And so I like aspects of it. I like aspects of pretty much every diet out there. They all have aspects of it that make sense. The problem always comes down to just adopting it as a complete and total strategy. And intermittent fasting is not a complete and total strategy. It's just a tactic thrown at you. You notice that? Like every fucking diet is one tactic thrown at you. Oh, now you do this. Well, I tried intermittent fasting. Well, it didn't work for me. Well, I tried keto. Well, I lost some weight and then I couldn't stick with it. It didn't work for me. God, I mean, you got a fucking parade of things that haven't worked for you, but they're all tactics. Every one of them's a tactic. Because what have you done? What comprehensive holistic strategy have you done to master your weight for good? Please let me know. You couldn't even imagine an answer to that, is how far away you are from the answer. You couldn't even give me a name of anything that's a comprehensive holistic approach. It doesn't even exist. Give me a name. Give me a fucking name of a comprehensive holistic strategy to master your weight for good. Please let me know. One name. I know you're thinking, and I know you keep coming up, well, that's a diet. Oh, it's a diet. It's a meal plan. It's an eating philosophy. It's a workout. What's a comprehensive holistic strategy you even know of? Just give me a name. One name of you've even heard in passing. You don't have to even tried it. Just one. If you wanted to do a holistic, comprehensive approach to mastering your weight, what would you do? I haven't got an answer, by the way. It's all told, there's, I don't know, 60 people on here. And you all are fucking intense. You all been focusing on your weight for decades. And I haven't gotten one answer. This is what I'm trying to tell you. You've lived in this diet bubble that's bullshit. So wouldn't it make sense that mastering your weight is kind of like going to college in the sense that you have to learn a number of things? Yeah, Joshua, I mean, he says eat more fiber and protein. that's again, I appreciate that. I don't disagree with it, but I know that's not an answer to when I asked a comprehensive approach to mastering your weight, right? Because that's the opposite. Again, it's one thing. It's two things. But let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, though. So in Program Yourself, then we follow the weight mastery pyramid. There's mindset, lifestyle, eating. Do you not think you need to deal with your mindset if you want to act different, live different for the rest of your life? Do you not think you're going to need a strategic plan to influence your lifestyle? Do you not think, like, eating wise, you're going to have to customize the eating plan around your preferences, your lifestyle, what you like to eat, what works for you? So, yeah, so Josh was listing more stuff, and I appreciate that. Yeah, sleep, exercise, of course, right? But what I'm asking you is where can you go? You say, you know what? Enough with the diets. I want to master my weight. I want a real plan that's really going to allow me to do this. Like, what I'm saying is there's no person who's going to teach it to you. You can't even name a name. I bet you can't name a name. Who would you learn from? Who's going to teach you the mindset, lifestyle, and eating strategies of a thin, healthy person so you can live that way for the rest of your life? Give me some names. Who's going to teach you that in detail? Don't say me. I know I'm doing it. But what I'm saying is that as obsessed as you all are with your weight and your health, you don't even have an answer to that, which means what I'm trying to tell you is you've lived in this bubble of bullshit where they just keep throwing tactics at you that don't work. Again, there's truth in all the tactics. Yeah, Joel Fuhrman. Okay, Joel Fuhrman has some great stuff, but it's so outlier shit that the vast majority of people are never going to follow that. You're going to be a nutritarian. Well, who the hell doesn't want to be a nutritarian? But as soon as you eat something a little off, you're demonized in that perspective. And I love Joel Fuhrman. But this is what I'm trying to say. Joel Fuhrman is out there doing what all the weight loss does, which is telling you what to do on a perfect level. Every diet is out there perfect on paper. They're all perfect on paper. But how does it factor in real life? How do you go from being a standard American diet person to following Joel Fuhrman's nutritarian philosophy? What's the transition period? How do I actually do it? And what all of you do is you try and force yourself to do something through willpower. And you're able to do it for a little while, and you always go back to what you normally do because you have no idea how to change your mindset in a real, profound, genuine way. You've never learned this. Joel Fuhrman does not teach that at all. He tells you what to do and why you should do it. But what he's doing that all the diets do is the second you don't do it exactly the way he said is you feel guilt and shame. You ever feel that? Oh, it doesn't matter what diet you're on. Keto, low fat, Weight Watchers, intermittent fasting. The second you don't do it perfectly, what do you feel? I already know, you feel guilt and shame, embarrassment. So yeah, how do you get yourself from where you're at to where you want to be? Well, diet says, just do it. Just fucking do it. Just come on. That's not how we learn things. Yeah, just Jade. Yeah, he's nutritarian. It is just as extreme as keto. And so again, I like a lot of what Joel Fuhrman says. I agree with a lot of it, but the strictness of it, the rigidness of it, I know because I work with real people day in and day out. The rigidness of it is the main thing that's going to kick people off. If you want to know the number one factor that will predict how effective a diet's going to be long-term, it's how rigid it is. The more rigid your plan is, the less likely you are to stick with it for very long. So again, in Program Yourself Thin, we start with where you're at and we start improving 1% a day because that's how you improve at anything in your life. You can't go from sucking at something to being perfect at it the next day. It makes no sense. It makes zero sense that you suck at one thing. On Sunday, you suck at eating well and eating less and eating enough to lose weight. But on Monday, you're perfect with it. Huh? What other area of your life can you just do that? It makes no sense. And the reason people buy into it is because there's a complete and total absence of understanding of psychology in most diets. And again, Joshua, nutritarian is plant-based nutritional science, all facts. I'm not disagreeing with the facts of the nutrition. My point is that go to see a nutritionist and have them design, go visit Dr. Joel Fuhrman and have him personally customize you a diet plan. And you know how much that's going to help you lose weight? Almost zero. Because everyone's problem is not that they don't know what to do. It's that they do not know how to get themselves to do it. Joel Fuhrman included. How do you go from being a standard American diet consumer to being a nutritarian? That's the question. And he has no answer for you. And again, I'm a fan. I like a lot of what he says, but I think there's a rigidness and a strictness that's the same as all the other diets. And that is the main thing that's going to knock most people off the path. Do you not realize that, folks? You know, the stage says, Josh, I know what nutritarian is, but it's an extreme diet that is not sustainable over long term, maybe 1%, but not most people. Agreed. I think most Americans, myself included, I don't want to be a nutritarian who can never eat processed foods ever. I don't want to live that way. I don't give a fuck if it's not, I don't want to be the healthiest person I can be. How about that? Let me take it a step further. I don't want to be the healthiest person I can be. I want to be the happiest person I can be. And I bet most of you are right there with me. Yeah, Joshua, it is extreme for most people, you know? And again, eating plant-based soup, salads, and smoothies is not especially extreme, but that's it. There's no room for any processed foods. There's no room for eating the old foods. And I think that's where most people, myself included, I'm not interested in that. I want some balance. And so that's not the healthiest thing, Jim. I don't want to be the healthiest thing. I don't want to be the healthiest person I can be. You know? So again, I'm not knocking it. If for someone who wants to be the healthiest person they can be possible, they wouldn't, don't even listen to me. I mean, I could still help a person like that do it, but it's not my goal. And I'm not speaking to people that want to do that. You know, people that want to be the healthiest person could possibly be are not the people that I help work with. I help people that are kind of out of control with their weight, whether they are or not. You know, you'd be surprised that 30% of my clients are within 5-10 pounds of their goal weight, but they feel like they're not in control. I know that sounds weird to a lot of people, but that's a real thing. But again, I think all these diets are so strict that they're not really realistic and practical for most people in a normal situation. So Karen says, I learned a lot from you, worth its weight in gold. Well, thank you, Karen. Mustafa says, you always speak about strategies. What can you recommend? You know, I've gotten to the point now where it's like, I started to realize, like, I keep trying to explain everything, but it's kind of like if someone's like, oh, how do I become a carpenter? Say I was a carpenter. And I said, how do I become a carpenter? And I sit here and I try and explain every aspect of carpentry to you. So, I mean, again, what I would say is at the very least, go to my bio, click the link at the hypnosis section, watch the video I made for you. The video explained the strategies a lot more, I think. But I think ultimately it's mindset strategies, lifestyle strategies, eating strategies. And the mindset strategies, again, I mean, in the program, there's 6 categories of mindset, but basically mindset, let me give you the big overview. I think it's about you programming your subconscious mind. You've got a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. Your conscious mind is the logical, rational part of you where your willpower is. And this is where your logical thinking is. This is where your willpower is at. This is the part of you that knows what you should do, why you should do it, tries to get you to do it. Your subconscious mind is the rest of your brain that handles all your habitual thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Your prefrontal cortex, your conscious mind, is 10% of your brain. The rest of it's 90%. This part of your brain is what's running your behaviors. It's controlling your weight. And what you do every time you go on a diet, regardless if you do a nutritarian, low fat, pick your poison. It does not matter. You're trying to consciously control and fight against all your subconscious automatic thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And you're trying to restrict those so that you act differently so you can lose weight. And you can do that for a little while, and then you can't do it anymore, and you go back to what you always normally do. That's why you're overweight. You diet and get it down, and then you always go back to being overweight. And so a lot of this is because you never focus on your subconscious mind. You never focus on installing the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors of a thin and healthy person so that they start to run automatically. You did this with toothbrushing. You trained a behavior into your subconscious mind. And now 40 years later, you still do it at the same times that you did it when you were a kid and learned how to do it that way. So if you approach your weight mastery for the rest of your life, because again, the goal is not to lose weight, it's to live at your goal weight for the rest of your life on your autopilot. And so if you focus the process on installing new thoughts, habits, behaviors into your subconscious mind that run on near autopilot, like your toothbrushing, like riding a bike, like driving a car, they just run automatically. That's how you get to your goal weight and then stay there. I've been at the same weight for 30 years. I lost 50 pounds 30 years ago. I've been the same weight for 30 years. I won blip 12 years ago, and I have not dieted once, and I don't work out at all in any consistent way. I've mastered my eating. I've mastered my mindset, my lifestyle, my eating. And now the way that I just live automatically, I stay at my goal weight. Now I am still there managing it. I don't want to say it's not 100% autopilot. It's not, but it is like 85% autopilot. I just do the things that keep me at my goal weight. I know that seems hard to believe for you all, but it's because you've been conditioned to think, that you're the secret to your weight loss is you forcing yourself to act differently. And that's just not going to work. You know, Joshua says, I understand that psychology mindset is typically the missing link ingredient in the most diet advice. Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate I've seen you, Joshua. I know you get it. And I was a raw foodist. So listen, I was a raw foodist for about 6 months. And I understand extreme. And I get what's extreme is relative. I understand that too, that for all, we've been on the earth for millions of years eating. And for most of those millions of years, we always ate whole natural foods until about 50 years ago. So I totally understand the concept of what's extreme is relative. But I just think, again, the big issue is always the mindset psychology piece of how do we become the person we want to be. And you notice in weight loss that that's the thing they never cover, like literally never cover. The closest I think is maybe Weight Watchers. You know, their mindset thing is so silly. They're like the only ones that even give it lip service. But again, the emperor's got no clothes. When dieters think about, oh, I got to change my mindset, I got to shift up my lifestyle. Like, what's that even mean? You don't even, dieters don't even know what that means. It's just, it's a word. It's a buzzword with no meaning behind it. And Program Yourself Thin, mine sets 6 specific categories I take you through in detail because, again, Program Yourself Thin, we're filling out the weight mastery blueprints. So you're filling out your mindset blueprints. It's 6 specific categories I take you through in detail to fill them out. Motivation, self-image, habits, emotions, how to think like a thin, healthy person, how to maintain. You don't know any of those things. don't think this personally, but you don't know how to motivate yourself. You have no idea how to motivate yourself. You got no idea your self-image, identity in terms of weight loss. You ever really reflected on that? Habits, do you know how to like neuroscientifically, strategically influence your habits in an intelligent, logical way? Do you know how to deal with your emotions in a genuine way? Do you know how to think like a thin, healthy person? Do you know how to maintain? These are six categories you have no clue about. So how exactly are you going to lose the weight? I'm going to stop eating carbs. You know what I mean? Like your strategy is woefully inadequate. Your diet strategy is bringing a stick to a bazooka fight. You know, you know, even lifestyle. I say lifestyle. What's that mean to you all? Well, sleep, exercise, water. Yeah, well, we got 8 habits in order of importance: sleep, hydration, relaxation, breathing, nourishment, movement, meditation, gratitude. How do you systematically, in a practical way, weave those into your life? Because it's an absolute game changer. And then when we talk about eating, oh yeah, okay, that's why I'm saying go see your fucking nutritionist. If nutritionists help people lose weight, we wouldn't have 74% of adult Americans obese or overweight. Again, I'm not saying they're not doing valuable work. I think there's a value to what they're doing. Absolutely. But what I'm saying is getting a perfect, customized, idealized eating plan is not going to help you lose weight. Not really. So you got to figure out, a way of eating that works for you, something you've never thought about, because every diet thing takes your power away, makes you a fucking idiot. And you got to, from on high, you know what I mean? That the diet Moses has to come down with their tablets with the 10 commandments on it. No, this is how you have to eat. The whole world needs to stop eating carbs. What? The whole fucking world's been eating primarily carbs for all of history, thriving. And now we got to stop eating carbs. Down. Oh, hey, Moses just came down from the diet mountain this month. What does he say this month? Just eat meat. Huh? We're not carnivores though. Just eat meat. I say just eat meat. Stop eating sugar from fruit. You know what I mean? And he's like, oh, okay. It's like, wake the fuck up. You know what I mean? That's how you know you're in a trance, because every month it's just something different you're believing. And again, it doesn't work for any of you. But Bell says you're right. When you break the magic rule, you feel like a loser. Yeah, I know that. And that feeling like a loser ends up being a thing that prevents you from. That's why all of you think about this. You're all obsessed with weight. You think about losing weight like 24 hours a day. You're constantly obsessed with losing weight, and yet you're not doing anything to make it happen. That's because, again, this is the dieting is again, it's the number one, well, at least one of the top psychological operations in history. And so you think about weight loss 24 hours a day and you don't do anything to make it happen. And it's because subconsciously you've been associated to conditioned pain. When you think about weight loss at this point, you associate pain to it subconsciously. Because when you think about weight loss, you think about doing something that's strict, rigid, that you're going to fail at, that you feel like a loser with. The associations you have with weight loss are failure, loser, all bad things. And so subconsciously your weight loss, this is the irony of ironies. This is why you don't want to lose weight, by the way. It's not that logically you don't want to lose weight. I'm not saying that logically you don't want to lose weight. You do. I'm saying subconsciously, Pavlovianly, what you have associated with weight loss is pain and failure. And so you avoid it. Don't you find it odd that you don't actually ever start on the diet You're always getting ready, right? You're going to do it next Monday, right? Because next Monday is it's the first Monday of March. So it's a fresh start. Okay. Spring's kind of comes getting warmer. 1st of March. Okay. Next Monday, keto plan. I'm going to get on my keto plan. I'm going to get rid of the carbs. Except you're not, So, Ryan says, and how do we get ourselves to do so? Well, you're never going to get yourself to follow a diet. A diet, it's just not enough. It's not enough information there. Again, it's the equivalent of me saying, how to become a carpenter. I got, I've taken all the hammer courses. Yeah, well, you got to learn more than just using a hammer. And with diets, you need more than just a description of what to eat. So yeah, you don't get yourself to do shit. You learn how to act in new ways. Does that make sense? That's the biggest distinction I could give you. Is with dieting, you think you have to force yourself. You have to fight against yourself. You don't get yourself to do shit, folks. You do what you've been conditioned and trained to do. You're not getting yourself to do things all the time. I hate to tell you. You do what you've been trained to do. Hope that makes sense. So yeah, you're not going to get yourself to do shit. You could train yourself to act in new ways. Total different thing though. If he says all or something all the way. Yes, absolutely. And program yourself, then we're all or something. MJ says, never struggle with drugs or gambling, learning how to feel exact same way about unhealthy eating. Yeah. I think that's a good reference point, I can't read what that thing says. How do you manage fitness and working out apart from eating? I'm not the right one for that. You don't, I think exercising is great, for its own reasons. It's not great for weight loss reasons. So I don't spend a lot of time talking about working out or exercising because that's not really my specialty. My specialty is weight mastery. And you master your weight by mastering your eating. It's that simple. Exercising is not going to help you lose weight. You need to change your eating. You can't burn the calories off over the eating. I promise you. I can get all the details, things that would shock you, but I don't want to right now. But yeah, you got to get your eating under control. That's the main thing influencing your weight is your eating. Your eating is a reflection of your habitual eating. Your weight is a reflection of your habitual eating. So Belaine Lane says, I'm 75 in my 30s, 40s, and 50s. Even people were not so obsessed with this food thing. Why now? Yeah, because the food companies, listen, folks, first of all, the diet companies are the food companies. So even when you're trying to lose weight, you're still getting your head filled with rocks by the food companies. Weight Watchers was owned by Heinz. Jenny Craig was owned by Nestle. Slim Fast owned by the same company owns Ben and Jerry's. Atkins Food Products owned by the same company owns Auntie Anne's Pretzels and Cinnabon. So these companies are just filling your head with rocks. They don't want you to eat less of their food. So every strategy you've learned your whole life about weight loss is bullshit. And not to say it's bullshit. It's just, it's pieces of a puzzle. You know what I mean? It's a piece. And a piece by itself isn't the puzzle. So, you're sitting around here with a couple pieces of it, but you don't know how to put it together in a meaningful way. I'll put it that way. And so the food thing, yeah. I mean, Christ, look, the food industry is overeating food is one of the biggest drivers of this economy. Think about it. Just food sales alone. Then you have the weight loss market. That's a function of that, right? That's $65 to $80 billion a year industry. Then you have the medical industry. That's just the part of it that's just directly related to people over consuming food and having weight issue, having issues because of their weight. And then I'm sure there's a bunch of things beyond that, but like there's so much that drives the economy is over consuming food. So that's a big part of why food now. Because it's a huge driver of the economy. So it becomes that. Says Jim, I think that your special recipe is essentially personal empowerment, which is hidden deep inside each of our heads. Agreed, Josh. I agree 1,000%. I always say weight loss. I program yourself in as weight loss wrapped in personal development. And I think the personal development part's the more important piece. And I know a lot of you say, Jim, fuck that. I just want to lose weight. Well, let me know how it goes. I'm the one who's done almost 6,000 private weight loss sessions. I'm the one who's been doing this 20 years. So I'm not just talking on my ass. I'm just making things up. And that's another thing that makes dieting and weight loss so confusing for people. It's very similar to restaurants. I used to work in restaurants. And one thing you notice in the restaurant business that's very unique to the restaurant business is that you have a lot of dipshits who have no experience opening restaurants. And you say, God, it's weird. Like, they put a lot of money into this, all the rest of it. They have no idea what they're doing. And you saw this regularly. I mean, I worked in restaurants for a while, and it was like, you just see it. I would move to different places. You would see this regularly all over the place. And you say, what the fuck? And the theory was, and I believe it, that everyone goes to restaurants to eat. Everyone eats, everyone makes food. And so they start thinking, well, I can do this too. I'm an expert at it. But they're not. And weight loss is right the same thing. Everyone's trying to lose weight. So everyone feels like they're an expert, and they're not. So you get a lot of people that just talk shit that really have no idea what they're talking about. I'd say that's the majority of it. So, someone says, I think my hunger levels also change based on what part of the cycle I'm on. Kind of crazy. It's not crazy though. I say this all the time to my female clients in that period of life. Like, it's crazy that you never realize that. You know what I mean? Like, but again, dieting doesn't train us to become aware of ourselves. Diets don't train you to recognize, who are you? What are your goals? Why are you doing this? What's your lifestyle? What are your genetics? What are your preferences? What are your likes and dislikes? What's your situation in life? Let's look at that, and then let's start to build around that. Diets it's a one size fits all plan. It's bullshit, folks. I mean, I can't even stress to you, there's never been one successful diet ever in the history of humans. You know, short of a natural diet, plant-based diet, because what we ate for millions of years. Okay. But in the last 60 years, there's not been one successful diet. What do you think of that? Not even one. And when you think about weight loss, what are you thinking in terms of diets? Do you understand? I don't know what to tell you. And I say this to you with love, because the first step to, let me shift gears a little bit. I'm kind of negative lately. Imagine that the way you eat, you just naturally crave healthier foods. And you still have treats sometimes, whatever that may be for you. Maybe it's fast food stuff, junk food stuff, processed food stuff, whatever. You still have it sometimes, but you have it moderately. You eat it, you enjoy it, and then you go back to your healthier foods, which is what you really crave. Okay? And your mind is calm. You're clear about what your goals are. You find it easy to do a lot of the things in your life that make you feel good. You're drinking a good amount of water every day. It makes you feel good. Your brain's firing on all cylinders. You're sleeping well. You're getting enough sleep, and when you sleep soundly. You wake up refreshed. You're energized. You go through the day feeling good. You are able to move comfortably, right? You can move with some grace and some flexibility, and you feel strong. You feel good in your body. You feel comfortable. You feel relaxed. You can be surrounded by a bunch of bullshit. The world's going crazy. Your jobs are stressful, and you're the calm in the center of the storm, right? Oops. Your mind's quiet sometimes, right? Sometimes it gets wild, but then you can bring it down. You can kind of calm yourself down. You can connect to your breath. You can take a deep breath and feel centered and calm and step into the present moment. And from doing this, you can step on a scale and you see the exact number you want to see. So you look the way you want to look. You feel the way you want to feel. You're living the way you want to live. You feel good. You feel happy. You feel calm. You feel comfortable. You enjoy the food you eat. You feel balanced because you eat a lot of good, nutritious stuff that's got your body just thriving, buzzing, vibrating at a higher level, humming along. And sometimes you go and eat, the stuff that you like to eat for fun, and you do it regularly, moderately, and you weigh exactly what you want to weigh. And you go 5 years in the future and you weigh exactly the same thing. You go 10 years in the future, you weigh exactly the same thing, and it's calm and it's relaxed and you feel good. You feel happy. You feel like you're tapping into your potential. You're being and living as the person who you want to be. And that's affecting all the areas of your life. Your relationships are improving because you're more calm, grounded, centered, more emotionally balanced. your work, if you work and if you're making money, if that's important to you, you're making more money, you're thriving, your personal development, you're growing, you're doing the things you enjoy doing. Wouldn't this be nice? This is what I'm talking about, right? And what diet's going to do that for you? None. There's literally never been a successful diet. It's a funny one. I'm going to do a lesson on that. I've never put it that way. What diet's going to do that for you? There's never been a successful diet. I have never said that before. That's fucking crazy to think, isn't it? There has never once been a successful diet. There's not even one. All the experts, all the ads, all the books, all the podcasts, there's not been one successful diet. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. Neely says, wow, after 10 years of keto and slowly gaining weight, I now get it. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm glad. That's what I'm here for. User 770 said, love your videos from the UK. Well, thank you. I love the UK. I have a number of clients from the UK. Karen says, I'm finally losing weight, eating what I want in moderation. Hey-oh. Again, Karen's in the program. Thank you. Nice. Good job, Karen. Proud of you. Yeah, sticking with it. So yeah, there it is. And it is funny again. And I say there's never been a successful diet and I don't see one person arguing with me. That's crazy because you all, if you're not in the program, if you're not in the program yourself, then what are you thinking like? You're thinking like a dieter. Shit. And even again, we had someone here earlier saying they're on the GLP-1. Oh, how do I deal with cheese cravings? The GLP-1's not a magical cure. Yeah, exactly, Elaine. Yeah. One thing all diets have in common is you'll quit it. Exactly. That's why there is no successful diet. Again, I'm not arguing that you can lose weight on a diet. I'm never arguing that. Yeah, of course you can lose weight on a diet, but there's no successful diet that keeps the weight off. And we could say plant-based diet. That's not fair. I mean, that's just the way we eat. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to count that, even though I get it, but that's not a fair thing, what's up, Jane? Following from Italy. All right. Yeah. Italy. Nice. It's so crazy. It is cool. It's one of the funnest things about doing what I do is I get to hear from people all over the world, which is crazy to me too, because the sad thing is that you realize the westernized way of eating is really exported across the world. And along with it, the same problems, you know what I mean? Health problems with it. But yeah, it's always fascinating that people from there. Josh says, I reduced my regular ice cream intake by replacing it with whipped cream and healthy cereals. I think that's a smart move, Joshua. Good one. Yeah, the replacement strategy is probably the best one, I think, right? So in Program Yourself, then we talk about reduce, replace, remove. So when you want to change, again, we identify the highest calorie sources that you're consuming regularly, and then we go with the replace, reduce, remove in order of preference, usually, and effectiveness. Now, most dieters just want to remove. But again, Joshua, that's brilliant. Once you get the whipped cream and healthy cereals down, then you might be able to just reduce that one, because you're not as used to eating as much of it. So again, what I'm trying to say in a nutshell, and I know I'm never trying to be elusive. I will answer whatever question I can as clearly as I can. But sometimes, you need to have a base of knowledge first. And so it's hard to just, if you've never done accounting, for me just to pop in and tell you an accounting strategy. Well, you don't have the paradigm of accounting, and so again, there's a paradigm shift you need to make from being a dieter to, again, being a weight master that needs to happen before the strategies make sense a lot of times. Just Jade says, no successful diets, just successful dieters, and it's very, very few. Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very few. It's estimated at 5%, and so that's a crazy, crazy stat, that's the amazing part of dieting, but that shows you the power of, I mean, again, everything's hypnosis. People may not know that, but it's the power of marketing. It's the power of conditioning, is that something that's so ineffective, dieting that fails 95% of the time, is the number one way people try and lose weight. And when you put it that way, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would you rely on something that has a 95% failure rate? It makes no sense. And yet that's what everyone's doing. So, I think that's just more proof that we're illogical creatures. Humans are illogical primarily. And yeah. Teresa says, how do I lose 100 pounds? Well, I mean, don't get mad at me when I say this, because this isn't just semantics. It's a paradigm shift. But the first step you have to realize is it's not about losing 100 pounds. It's about living as a 100-pound lighter version of you, whatever that number would be. So whatever weight you would be at 100 pounds lighter, the question I'd rather ask is, how do I live as a X amount of pound person? And then I would build from there, because again, this is a perfect example of what all you dieters do. You think of yourself as your overweight person, right? So Teresa over here is 100 pounds heavier than what she wants to be. Teresa identifies as this 100-pound heavier person. She's probably been 100 pounds heavier like this for a while, years, decades. Maybe not exactly 100 pounds, but 80 to 100 pounds. You've probably been 80 to 100 pounds overweight most of your life, I would bet, or at least the last 10 years, probably. So you identify as this version of you. And so now the dieting says, how do I stop eating so much so I can get my weight down? But you're always referencing yourself as this person. Understand that all of you, if you're overweight, it's because you have an overweight mindset. And what that means is that when you're not focusing on restricting calories or doing crazy stuff to lose weight, when you're just living your life, you're overweight. The way you think, the way you live, the way you eat, you're overweight. And so you diet to lose the weight. But dieting in itself is not a mindset. Dieting is an anti-mindset, meaning it's not a mindset in and of itself. What it does is it says, okay, what's my normal mindset? Being overweight. And now whatever you think overweight, well, let's eat this for breakfast. No, let's do this. No, let's have the ice cream. No. And you diet, know yourself down to your goal weight, let's say. But the same problem exists as before when you were 100 pounds heavier. And it's that you have the same overweight mindset. You don't have a new mindset. You've just knowed yourself down to your goal weight. And most people that have gotten close to their goal weight know that as you get close to your goal weight, you start getting terrified that you're going to put the weight back on. And why wouldn't you? You haven't changed your mindset. You've just knowed yourself down to a lower weight. And you can't keep dieting forever. So Program Yourself Thin resolves this by, from the very first day, what we're looking to do is create a thin and healthy mindset. A thin and healthy mindset that naturally and automatically thinks, lives, and eats the way that keeps you at your goal weight. I don't know if that makes sense to people, but that's the approach. And so, yeah, it's not a hack. It takes more commitment and effort than a diet does, but diets don't work. So what do you want? Diets are get-rich-quick schemes. And that's how you should see them. And that's why you're getting the results you're getting, because they don't work. And yeah. So, you need like a weight mastery college. That's what Program Yourself Thin is. And you need to learn a number of things in order to master your weight. And I'll be the first to tell you that most people are not willing to do that, because most of you don't really care about losing weight. You think you do, but you don't. And I can prove it. And I say this every day, because all you need to do is you can go to my bio, click the link, and get the hypnosis session I give you for free. And the video I made for you that you can watch 3 steps to mastering your weight for free. And most of you will not do that. And that's because you don't really care about your weight. You're just obsessed with thinking about it, And so like they say, this may not sound too motivating, but I'm here for you. That's why I'm here, is that you really ought to just let it go. Just accept the weight you're at, enjoy your life. Because most people just don't really give a shit about their weight. But if you do care about your weight, if you actually do want to live a thin and healthy lifestyle, if you do want to be that person I was talking about a few moments ago with that quality of life and that reality, then click the link in my bio, go get the hypnosis session, watch the video, and get in my world. Okay. Because there's a better way to do this. And it's not rocket science, but it's also not a get rich quick scheme that's not going to work. You have to put some effort and work in, but you can learn how to be a thin, healthy person. You just need to learn the components of how to do it. Yeah. Cindy says radical self-love first. Yeah, sure. I'm a big fan of that, because I do not think that hating yourself certainly doesn't work, but loving yourself completely isn't going to fix it either, though. Again, we have to get ourselves out of the mindset that one little thing is going to fix everything. Loving yourself is a great first step. And I think it's so important, but that's not going to make your weight change either. I appreciate Cindy. Cindy says, I love your content. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, we want to start with self-love, and then we want to learn the skills, acquire the knowledge. You know, because again, if we put weight in a different context, I think it's very clarifying. Like, for example, let's just say you don't play the piano, never played the piano in your life, and you hate yourself for it, right? You're so mad at yourself. You wanted to play the piano for 30 years, you never have, and you hate yourself that you haven't done it. And someone says, "Hey, yeah, you gotta love yourself." And you say, "Yeah, that's smart." Well, you can love yourself all you want, but that's not gonna make you learn the piano, right? You got to learn how to, you got to practice and do it. Now, I would suggest that you learn and practice and play the piano with self-love brewing inside of you, right? But that self-love alone is not going to be enough. And, again, when we put weight in the context of like learning a language, learning a musical instrument, learning any sort of skill, I think it's very instructive, because then all of a sudden, like the bullshit they teach you with weight would never work in any other context. Like again, if you want to learn music, you got to learn again a whole roundabout number of things. If you want to learn language, you have to learn a bunch of different things. You're not just going to learn language. Just learn verbs. This is the verb language course. Like, no, you need to learn all this stuff. And when it comes to weight, again, it's been a screw job. Sorry to tell you, we've all been at the mercy of it. The difference is, are you going to break free of it or not? Now you're going to go deeper into it and commit, because I know the majority of you are going to dig deeper into it on Monday and commit to some diet on Monday because it's March, it's the beginning of March, and it's this new month, new me, and yeah, you're going to work. Yeah, because he says no panaceas. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There is no just one side. There's no one secret answer. I did that yesterday. Like the number one hack. There is no hack. You just have to commit yourself to it. It's very much like going to college. If you want to become an accountant or whatever major, there's no hack. There's no one class you could take where you could learn it all in a month. You got to commit to it over the long haul. And if you do that, again, and the irony of all of that is that it's actually easier to just master this than it is to keep trying to fucking shortcut the system and hack your way through and all the rest of it. Yeah, Cindy, stack and practice new skills. Absolutely. Yeah, no more diets. Absolutely. Teresa says, do you believe in food addiction? I mean, I do. I do believe in food addiction in a sense. But I think I say in a sense because I believe in all sorts of addictions, right? So it's like I do believe food addiction is a real thing. I think it's overused. I hate food addicts. Food Anonymous, I think, is one of the worst strategies. Going back to what we were talking about before, it's so rigid that I can't tell you the number of Food Anonymous people I've had to work with because they're all fucked up from Food Anonymous. It's so strict. It creates all kinds of problems in my world. So anyways, but food addiction, yeah, I absolutely. Food can show up as an addiction, but it's important to remember that while there is food, or while I believe there's food addiction, while it's important to remember and recognize that, there's also heroin and cocaine addiction, and people stop doing those substances every year. So no matter how strong an addiction is, when you have the right mindset and strategies, you can deal with it. So yeah, Elaine says, yeah, new trends just keep coming. Yeah, absolutely. They're never going to stop because there's a lot of money to be made, so it won't stop. So, all right, everyone, when we get out of here, again, if you're not in my world, click the link in my bio, go get the hypnosis session and watch the video and get in my world. And this is a podcast. So if you ever want to listen to this, it's Program Yourself Then on all the podcast platforms. I'm here live every Monday through Friday, usually around noon Eastern. If you ever have questions, pop on here, ask them. I'm happy to help you out as best I can. And check out my YouTube channel. I'll start to post more longer form content on there. Just posted a video, 3 reasons diets don't work and how hypnosis fixes that. That is on my YouTube channel. So go check that out, like it, subscribe, follow me. I'll be posting more stuff on there. All right, everyone, have a super duper day and we'll talk soon. Bye.